Welcome back to Inherited Dawn. We are breaking down One Piece from the very beginning, and today we are on chapter 33, The Silent Man.
And what a title! We thought we knew who Captain Kuro was, but this chapter redefines him completely. It peels back the skin of the mild-mannered butler, Klahadore, and reveals the cold, calculating monster underneath.
Redefines him. It straps a rocket to him and launches him into a new stratosphere of villainy. I mean, we knew he was bad. The plan to kill Kaya is monstrous. But this chapter shows us why he was a pirate captain with a 16 million berry bounty, which at this point in the story is the highest we've ever heard of besides Shanks. And it all comes down to that one moment where he just vanishes. No speed lines, no blur, no sound. He's in front of the Nyaban Brothers, and then he's just not. He's behind them.
The shakushi, the Pussyfoot Maneuver. We get a name for it, and it is instantly one of the most terrifying abilities we've seen. It's not flashy like a gum-gum pistol. It's subtle. It's the kind of power that kills you before your brain has even registered the threat.
It's the silence that does it. It's like Oda is screaming at us that the loudest threats aren't always the most dangerous. Sometimes it's the quiet ones you have to watch out for. If you want to keep up with every single terrifying detail Oda layers into this world, make sure you're following the show. You don't want to miss the quietest moments because they're usually the deadliest.
A perfect summary of this chapter, Franky. Let's start at the top with Kuro's absolute disgust for his own crew. The sheer contempt he radiates is a palpable thing.
Right, so the fight on the slope is over. Usopp's crew is down, but they did their job distracting the pirates. And Kuro strolls in like a disappointed theater director after a bad rehearsal. He's not even angry in a hot-headed way. It's this cold, simmering rage. He's demanding to know how a bunch of kids beat his notorious Black Cat pirates.
Jango, ever the sycophant, immediately tries to shift the blame. He does what any middle manager would do. He points the finger at the guy above him. He points out that Kuro was the one who said Usopp wasn't a threat. It's a logical point, actually.
Kuro's plan was based on the assumption that there would be no resistance, and Kuro just shuts him down. He doesn't even argue. He doesn't say, you should have been prepared anyway. He just says, no, you're all just weaker than I thought. The sheer, unadulterated arrogance of this man. He's been playing butler for 3 years, polishing silver, pouring tea, probably dusting. Meanwhile, his crew has supposedly been active, raiding ships, staying in fighting shape, and he has the nerve to call them weak?
It's more than arrogance. It's a control tactic. It's about reestablishing the psychological hierarchy. For 3 years, they've been operating with Jango as the acting captain. They might have gotten comfortable. They might have started to see Kuro's plan as a joint venture. Kuro cannot have that. The second he steps back onto the battlefield, he needs them to remember who the real monster is. He isn't just taking command back, he's reminding them of their place in the food chain, which is squarely beneath his heel.
It's a total power move. He's basically saying, my plan was perfect, the only variable that could have failed was you, and you did. He takes zero accountability. And Bucci and Sham, the Nyaban brothers, they're not having it. They've got some pride left.
They do. They call him out. They say, hey, we've been fighting, we've been plundering, we've gotten stronger while you were polishing silverware, which logically should be true. They've been active pirates. He's been living a peaceful domestic life in a mansion. They've been honing their skills. He's been de-honing them. In theory, they should have the advantage in a straight-up fight. They've been in the game.
You'd think. You can see the logic in their eyes. They're looking at this guy in a butler suit who they haven't seen in fight in years, and they're thinking, this guy's gone soft. His time is over. Our time is now. So they decide they've had enough. They're going to take him out before he can take them out for their perceived failure. They lunge at him, claws out, ready to kill.
And this is where the chapter shifts completely. This is the moment the tone plunges into something much darker. All the buildup, all the talk, it's about to be paid off in the most unsettling way possible.
It's not even a fight. That's the crazy part. A fight implies a back and forth. This is an execution that he decides to pause halfway through. He just sidesteps, but it's not a sidestep. Oda draws it so specifically. There's no motion blur, no whoosh lines. In one panel, Kuro is standing there looking bored. In the very next panel, the Nyaban Brothers are lunging through empty air where he used to be. He's just gone.
The paneling is masterful. Oda forces the reader to experience the same confusion as the Nyaban Brothers. You flip the page, and you have to scan for a second to find him. Your brain expects to see him dodging or blocking, but he's simply been erased from his previous position and redrawn in a new one.
They whip around, completely baffled, and he's behind them, ramrod straight, like he was there all the time. And they still don't get it. Their pride is so wounded, they think it was a fluke. They turn to strike again, and poof, same thing. He's behind them a second time, but now he's armed.
With the cat claws. 10 long, wicked-looking blades attached to his gloves, one for each finger, and they're resting gently against the brothers' throats. The threat is no longer implied. It's blade on skin. One twitch from him and they're dead.
Oda's weapon design is just on another level. We've seen cool swords, we've seen cannons, but this is something else. It's not just a sword or a gun. It's a weapon that perfectly complements his fighting style and his entire persona. Silent, precise, and absolutely lethal. It makes him look like a real predator, like his animal theme isn't just for show. It's like a real cat playing with its food before the kill.
And the design itself has an horrifying implication. He can't use his hands for anything else while wearing them. He can't grab things, open doors. It's a weapon of pure, dedicated violence. And the way he just produces them from his coat suggests he's had them on him this whole time, even while playing the part of Clawhador.
Oh man, that's a creepy thought. He's serving Kaya tea with these murder gloves tucked away in his suit. Chilling. And Jango's reaction sells the terror of this moment perfectly. We, the audience, are just seeing this for the first time, but Jango has seen it before.
He says that even Kuro's old habit of pushing up his glasses with his palm makes his hair stand on end. And he explains why. Because he does it with the palm of his hand to avoid cutting himself on the blades he's wearing.
That's how you show, not tell. It's one of the best examples of it in early One Piece. You don't just say Kuro is scary. You show a man who commands pirates, a hypnotist who can put people to sleep with a look, and he's physically terrified of a guy adjusting his glasses. A completely mundane gesture has been turned into a trigger for pure fear. That one detail tells you everything you need to know about the 3 years Kuro was in charge of the Black Cat pirates.
It's a deep psychological fear, a Pavlovian response. Jango has been conditioned to associate that simple movement with the extreme violence that inevitably followed. It tells us that Kuro was a complete tyrant. He didn't just command their loyalty, he commanded their terror. They followed him not out of respect, but because the alternative was a swift and silent death. You get the sense he probably used this shakushi technique to cull his own crew members for minor infractions.
It's like a dog that's been abused flinches when a hand is raised, even if it's for a friendly pat. Jango flinches when Kuro pushes up his glasses, same principle just with pirates, and Kuro uses that terror to get what he wants right here. He looks at his own crew, the men who followed him for years, the men he hand-picked, and gives them an ultimatum.
Kill them in 5 minutes or I will kill every single one of you. Not, I'll be disappointed or you're off the crew. It's, I will slaughter all of you.
This is what separates a guy like Buggy from a guy like Kuro. Buggy is selfish and arrogant, but he has this weird dysfunctional affection for his crew. He throws them parties. He gets angry for them when Luffy beats them up. Moji and Kabaji seem to genuinely like him. Kuro sees his crew as tools, not even valuable tools. They are disposable instruments, and the second they stop being useful, he's ready to discard them, all of them, without a second thought.
It's pure narcissistic rage. His perfect, meticulous 3-year plan was foiled by a group of children and a loudmouth liar. He can't process that. A true narcissist cannot accept that their own planning was flawed. So, in his mind, the flaw must be his tools. The crew must be punished for his own miscalculation.
The 5-minute time limit isn't tactical, it's a punishment. It's a display of his power over their very lives.
It's so twisted, but damn, it works. The Nyaban brothers, who were literally seconds away from trying to kill Kuro, now have renewed hope. And what is that hope? Their only hope for survival is to completely forget about Kuro and throw themselves at Zoro with everything they have.
Kuro just masterfully redirected their aggression and fear from himself onto the Straw Hats. He turned their mutiny into motivation. They are no longer fighting for greed or for the plan. They are fighting for their lives against their own captain. They charge Zoro, desperate and terrified.
And then we get this little character beat that I absolutely love because it feels so real. Nami sees Zoro is only using 2 of his swords. He's been handling them just fine, but now there's a time limit. The pressure is on. So she just kicks his 3rd one, the white-sheathed Wado Ichimonji, right over to him.
And Zoro is annoyed. He's not grateful. He doesn't say, "Thanks, I needed that." He glares at her and says, "What do you think you're doing?" He's irritated, as if she's interfering in his business.
It's such a perfect Zoro moment. It's his pride. He's thinking, I had this under control. I was handling them with 2 swords. Did you think I needed help? Even if taking the 3rd sword is the objectively smart and necessary thing to do. It shows how he and Nami are still figuring each other out. They're not a seamless unit yet. They're just a collection of strong-willed individuals who happen to be on the same side for now.
It's a wonderful piece of characterization. Nami is pragmatic. She sees a problem and finds the most logical solution. Give the swordsman his 3rd sword. Zoro is driven by his warrior's code and his own honor and pride. Their worldviews clash in this tiny, almost comedic moment, even in the middle of a deadly fight.
He takes it, though. He grumbles, but he knows she's right. He puts the hilt in his mouth, gets into his Santoryu stance, and it's over, just like that. One move. Oda doesn't even give us a named attack, just the sound effect of the slash. He just cuts them down. All that desperation, all that fear driving them, and to 3-sword-style Zoro, they're nothing.
This is Oda establishing tiers of power so clearly. The Nyaban brothers were a credible threat to Usopp and his crew. They were a decent match for Zoro when he was holding back, only using 1 or 2 swords. But Zoro going all out with his signature style, they're not even on the same planet. He's in a different league entirely.
And what a statement that makes. The strongest fighters of the Black Cat Pirates, the ones who had Usopp's crew dead to rights, and Zoro treats them like he's clearing weeds out of a garden. 1 slash, not even a named attack we hear, just shing, and they're down. It's the ultimate, the adults are talking now moment.
He completely invalidates the threat they posed. It's Oda recalibrating the power scale for us in real time. He's saying, yes, those guys were a problem for normal people, but Zoro is not a normal person, and the man he's about to face, meaning Kuro, is on a whole other level. It retroactively makes Kuro's silent takedown of them even more impressive. Zoro needed 3 swords. Kuro just needed to walk past them.
Exactly. It's like the warm-up is over. The real boss fight is loading in. And Zoro knows it. He just dismantled Kuro's top lieutenants in a single slash, and then he turns, points his sword at Kuro and says, "You're next." What a moment. Straight out of an action movie. The hero takes down the henchman and calls out the big boss.
But it's not that simple, because Kuro's plan, twisted as it is still working. He's not just a fighter, he's a strategist. His ultimatum wasn't just to motivate his crew, it was to create chaos, to draw attention away from himself.
Right, because the fight isn't over. Bucci is still standing, or well, he's getting back up. He's covered in cuts, he's clearly beaten, but he's not done. He's got that 5-minute timer from Kuro ticking in his head. Death is coming, one way or another.
He looks at Jango and demands to be hypnotized. Hypnotize me, make me stronger. He knows he can't win as he is. He's been thoroughly outclassed, so he's asking for that unnatural power-up. He's willing to sacrifice his mind and body just for a chance to survive Kuro's wrath.
This is such a cool use of Jango's ability. We saw him put Luffy to sleep and make the pirates rage out, but this is different. This is a targeted buff on a single person. He's essentially casting a spell on his own guy. It adds a whole new layer to his powers. He's not just a crowd control guy, he's a support character too.
It seems the hypnosis amplifies a subject's strongest trait, or current emotional state. With the pirates earlier, it was their aggression. With Luffy, it was his exhaustion. With Bucci, it seems to be his raw strength and durability. Jango's incantation is literally, "You are strong." He is reinforcing that idea in Bucci's mind until it becomes a physical reality.
The hypnosis hits, and you see it in the art. Bucci gets this monstrous look. His muscles bulge, his eyes go blank. He's ignoring the pain, ignoring his injuries, and he's just pure brute force now. He even says his wounds are sealing up, which is probably just in his head, but if he believes it, he'll fight as if it's true.
So now Zoro can't go after Kuro. His epic call-out is immediately undercut. He's stuck dealing with this berserker who doesn't feel pain and whose strength has been magically enhanced. Kuro has effectively created the perfect meat shield to keep Zoro busy and run out the clock.
It's a brilliant tactical move from a villain who is clearly 10 steps ahead of his own crew. He's not just a fast guy with claws, he's a master strategist. That's why his epithet is Kuro of 100 plans. We're seeing that intelligence in action. He manipulates everyone on the battlefield, friend and foe, like pieces on a chessboard.
And while Zoro is occupied with the newly empowered Bucci, Nami sees her chance. She's watching this all unfold, and she's smart enough to know that Zoro might be in real trouble here. She looks around for a solution.
The sleeping giant. Luffy is still knocked out cold from Jango's hypnosis earlier. He's just been snoozing on the sidelines this whole time. Nami knows he's their ace in the hole. If she can just wake him up, this whole fight changes. The numbers swing back in their favor.
It's the most logical move on the board. Get your strongest fighter back into the fight. She's not a warrior like Zoro, but she's a tactician in her own right. She immediately identifies the win condition. She starts trying to shake him awake, yelling at him.
But Jango spots her. He was focused on the Zoro fight, watching his hypnotized minion go to work, but he sees her out of the corner of his eye. He's a planner too, in his own weird way. He knows exactly what she's trying to do. Waking up Luffy is the last thing he needs right now.
And he throws his weapon, that sharpened chakram, the ring. He doesn't hesitate. And look at his target selection. He doesn't throw it at Zoro, who is the immediate physical threat. He doesn't throw it at the unconscious Luffy. He throws it directly at Nami. He identifies the person trying to change the state of the battlefield and moves to eliminate her.
A perfect cliffhanger. Luffy is unconscious, Zoro is tied up with a hypnotized monster who seems to be an unstoppable brute, Usopp is nowhere to be seen, and Nami is completely defenseless and about to get hit by a deadly projectile. Things just went from bad to worse in the span of a few pages.
It really is a perfectly constructed chapter. It opens by re-establishing the villain's threat level in a terrifying way. It gives Zoro a moment to shine and show his true power, and then it uses the villain's unique abilities to put everyone in an even more dangerous, complex situation than they were at the start.
Absolutely. It's methodical. Every single beat raises the stakes. Okay, before we get to what happens next, we gotta touch on the author comment for the week. It's a real gem.
Of course. He says, about that funky wisdom tooth I wrote about in issue 13, after I brushed it with Apicard, all the ridges on my tooth were missing. The heck?
Only Oda could complain that his toothpaste was too effective. He's in the middle of crafting this incredibly tense, dark chapter. Kuro's silent speed, the 5-minute death clock, Nami about to be sliced by a chakram. And in his personal life, his biggest concern is that his toothpaste has over-smoothed his molar. It's amazing. You gotta love the man.
It's a wonderful reminder of the human being behind the curtain. We see this grand, epic story unfolding, and it's easy to imagine the author is some mythic figure. But no, he's just a guy meticulously crafting this world while also dealing with very mundane dental problems. It's oddly comforting.
For sure. It keeps things grounded. All right, let's talk about what's coming next. We have a lot of threads hanging here at the end of chapter 33. The tension is sky high.
We do. And as always, if you're reading along with us for the first time, this is your chance to get your theories in. If you have a solid prediction for how Nami gets out of this specific situation, you should definitely leave it in the comments. We love to see how everyone else is putting the pieces together before we move on.
Okay, I'll go first with predictions for chapter 34. I've got two, and they're connected. First, Usopp saves Nami. It has to be him. This is his arc. This is his island. He's been the one trying to protect Kaya and the village. He can't fight the Nyaban Brothers head on. He's not Zoro, but he is a sniper. We saw him make that incredible shot from the top of the cliff earlier. I think he's hiding somewhere. He sees Nami in trouble, and he's going to shoot that ring right out of the air with a pachinko ball. It's the perfect way for him to contribute without having to be a frontline brawler. It plays to his specific strength.
That would be a fantastic moment for his character. It validates his role. He's not a coward hiding. He's a sniper getting into position. I like that a lot. Okay, my first prediction is a bit more focused on the Zoro fight. I predict Zoro is going to be genuinely pushed by this hypnotized Buchi, not because Buchi is more skilled, he's clearly not, but because he's fighting like a wild animal. He won't react to pain, he won't flinch, his movements will be completely unpredictable. Zoro is a trained swordsman, used to fighting other trained opponents who value their own lives. This will force Zoro to fight in a way he isn't used to. It's not about overwhelming power, but about dealing with a foe who doesn't follow the rules of a fight. He's basically fighting a tank.
I like that. It keeps the fight interesting instead of just being a slugfest where Zoro eventually wins. It's a puzzle he has to solve. Okay, my second prediction is about Luffy waking up. I don't think Nami succeeds in shaking him awake. I think your theory and my theory combine here. Usopp shoots Jango's ring out of the air. The ring goes flying off course and hits the big rock right next to Luffy's head. And the loud clang is what's finally going to jolt him awake. It's not heroic, it's not planned, it's just a complete accident, which fits the goofy, chaotic way that things often work out for Luffy and his crew.
A very straw hat solution to the problem. Accidental, effective, and slightly ridiculous. I can see that happening. For my second prediction, I'm focusing on Kuro. I predict he will not move a single inch in the next chapter. He's going to stand there, arms crossed, watching the chaos unfold. He'll be completely silent, maybe adjusting his glasses once with his palm, which will send a shiver down Jango's spine. He's running the clock. He wants to see his crew fail and squirm for the full 5 minutes. His cruelty is patient. He's not going to intervene until he absolutely has to, or until the timer runs out and he gets to start killing his own men. His role in the next chapter will be to be a source of pure psychological pressure on everyone else.
Oh, that's chilling. Just a statue of death on the battlefield, judging everyone. That feels exactly like something he would do. Man, this arc just keeps getting better. The stakes feel so much higher than they did in Orangetown.
This is where Syrup Village really begins to feel dangerous. The initial silliness of Usopp's lies and Jango's moonwalking is gone, and the threat is very, very real. The life of every person in that village and the lives of our fledgling crew are on the line.
And that's all the time we have for this chapter. We'll be back next time to see if Nami survives, if Luffy wakes up from his nap, and what happens when the Silent Man finally decides to move. You do not want to miss it. Until then, keep sailing.